All right. We are streaming now. Yep. We're live on our business page. And let me check. I think
We
we're
have
good.
to we have to do our pre-ride checklist. Make sure everything let's see. So Facebook, YouTube.
Yep. And we are live on also YouTube. So we're good.
There we go. It's time to saddle up.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's your weekend been?
My weekend has been very, very good. I went to a rodeo on Friday and I was to the point where I just wanted to make a good, solid run, and that happened. And then I went to a jackpot yesterday, and out of 100, like 35, 40 girls that ran, I was number 6. So, and I went today to a burro race and got there, and it started to sprinkle, and I put my horses in the trailer, and it came a massive downpour, and the power went out of the indoor arena, and they had to cancel it. So I just came home.
Oh,
So I
but you
didn't
know
get to run.
what? Every experience
Yeah.
finds its way into the next.
Yes. So uh, I'm looking to go see what I'm going to go to this week.
Yes. Well, I love it because it's interesting. Like, as we have these conversations, we talk about there's a lot of conversations around confidence. And so, whenever somebody says, what's the essence of confidence? I always say several streams lead to that river. But one very important stream is clarity. Without clarity, confidence doesn't have the space to really expand and be embodied. And when we talk about clarity, one of the posts we made this week was name your state. How are you feeling? Use a descriptive word. It was, are we regulated, in between, activated, shut down? And y'all's answers were so amazing that it inspired a new conversation that's coming out this week because we are in the weeks of what I call the first weeks. Sunny, you've retired.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, these are not your first weeks, but for those of you that are parents out there, these are the first weeks back to school. And so here in Texas, a lot of kids have started this past week. Some are starting this week. So we are definitely looking at blazing new trails for this year. And one of those things of creating that post is name your state is because the more clear that we can get on our internal information system, the more capacity we have to be with what's outside of us. And a lot of times we've grown up or we've been in situations and scenarios over time where we started looking outside first before we looked inside. And so, what that begins to disrupt, and it is a disruption, we also made a post on like, how do you begin to remember your runs and stay present? And we talked about the sensory motor map. And it's that you're taking in all of the sensory information, the horse underneath, the lights, the noise, your depth perception. You've got to think like that's quite a physical activity that is really asking a lot of your nervous system and your sensory motor system. And those signals need to be going in the right places. And so we need a really good train conductor. If our train conductor falls asleep, mass chaos. And when that mass chaos happens, or the challenge or the difficulty happens, what our nervous system is going to do is it's going to go into a certain protective state, whether it's going to be hyper alert, hyper vigilant to keep us safe, or shut down, make ourselves small, and just be like, just get through it however you can and don't look at it too much. And then sometimes we're going to be in between. And so if you guys go back to that post, we began the conversation, and this week we're going to further the conversation. Last week we talked about our visual field, and I really want to give an example just in this short live so we can of course continue on the conversation. If y'all don't have your memberships, get it because you want to be part of this extended conversation in so many ways is that our visual field has a huge impact as to how we emotionally process and physically process. Case in point, working with a fantastic young lady. She is bright. She goes to a college here in Texas, and she's going to be a physical therapist. And she was she came to me with this conversation and she said, I get so drawn in to people's stories. And she said, what I'm struggling with right now, and I have permission to share this because I won't ever share names. But she said, I have my roommate is dealing with some really deeply personal issues. And she said it's beginning to be where it feels like it's overtaking me. Like I'm feeling the heaviness of it, right? It's one of those things where we want to be with someone, but we want to be a bridge, right? We want to be a co-regulator. So we're always kind of monitoring. I want to be with, but not necessarily in. Because if I'm in it too much, I can be taken away and swept away by the emotional intensity. And that's what this young lady was experiencing. And so what she did was brilliant. She actually took the movement exploration that we talked about at our gathering. And she said, I was receiving the story, but what she did is she allowed her vision to expand. And she said, I noticed the coffee table. I noticed my other roommate that was also sitting with us, listening and partaking in this conversation. She said, I saw the door. I made sure, she goes, I saw the different elements of the room. And as she did that, she said, I just noticed, could I sit a little deeper into the chair and could I soften my spine? And what happened was after that conversation, she said, I normally would have walked away heavier, feeling a little drained, but she said it was much lighter. She said the heaviness was still there, but it wasn't as intense. And that was all because she was like, I just began to work with my own breath, my sense of my body position, and my field of vision. And so that is what we call that figure ground concept, is that sometimes that stressor becomes really big and that's all that your inner world and your nervous system wants to see. But when we bring in elements of the other parts of the landscape, we begin to put things into context. We begin to have, it helps our nervous system expand its capacity to not want to fight, flight, freeze, or collapse. I could be with and stay connected to myself. So that is one of those things in the real world, how this worked out for her. And so I actually took that and I have practiced it many times this week. And so these are what we like to say, these small micro practices make big impacts as to how our nervous system develops its own internal embodied confidence to show up in the challenge and to show up in a regulated way where we're not overwhelmed by it or underwhelmed by it. And that's a skill we have to practice daily. It's not, we can't just call on it in the moment. It's something that we practice in our daily life. Those micro moments, micro experiences have a huge, profound ripple impact, if you will.
Yes. And how are your kids doing this week at school? Did they start this week?
So I've had some start this week and then some start next week. So we're going back and forth. Also, too, I've had some new developments. I have one of my oldest, he's in a new relationship, first time. And so, so one of the things that as this whole new experience concept with parenting is that we're going to talk this week to you guys, to you parents out there. So what we want to encourage parents with is that we name our nervous system states, but we also want to help our kids name them as well. And the reason being is that the more we can name our autonomic state, the more regulated the emotional centers of our brains become, and it gives us more access to our logic and our higher level thinking. And so just an example of that is that when you're in a new relationship and you're just 17 years old, I think one of the things was asked of me of what advice could I give? And I was like, well, I don't know if it's necessarily advice, but we did start kind of writing down some reflections. And one of the questions I said was, when you're in a new relationship and you're that young, you want to make sure that you stay with your sense of self, your sense of agency, developing your self and not getting too caught up into the other person, right? You want to maintain your sense of self agency. And, you can't just logic your way into that. Those are things that the quality of the questions will really impact and determine how we think through things. So one of the questions I asked him to do was monthly just reflect. One simple question is, did I say yes to something that I really wanted to say no to because I didn't want to rock the boat?
That's
Now
good.
that, right? Because that can be, that's just a question you could ask of yourself in friendship, at
Well,
work.
yeah, it doesn't have to be a 17-year-old relationship or
Sure does
17.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got lots of stuff coming down the pipe in
Oh,
Windy
yeah.
County.
Yes, 100%, because it's like we are inspired by daily life as well. So like that question right there. The other question that we worked with was when I leave our interactions, our time together, do I leave feeling energized, drained, overwhelmed? And those check-in questions that are so important because when you talk about that sense of, developing a stronger sense of confidence, or we want to talk about maintaining boundaries, or we want to talk about our mindset, those are going to happen in those small moments. And so we want to begin to ask ourselves the questions like, do you leave fulfilled? Do you leave drained? Do you leave feeling more flat? Because those answers are going to allow us to direct that conversation, right? Instead of an interrogation, we want conversations. And so that's the hope with these resources that we put out, these conversations that we have, just even these short check-ins that we do on Sunday night. Hopefully, these conversations get us thinking. You'll walk away with those questions. You might walk away having y'all have some input. Put it down in the comments, right? How would if that question, if you were able to live and truly answer that question, since if you had that opportunity from 17 on, what kind of I wonder what it could have impacted or how it could have changed maybe some experiences we've had.
Yeah. So what is our topic going to be on Tuesday?
Well, Tuesday we're going to continue from last week, and we're going to continue with just like that the visual exercise that we gave. We're going to expand on that, and we're also going to talk about the neuroscience behind why the eyes are so important to work with, and why that sense of orienting is so invaluable. It's one of the orienting reflex, right? It's one of those things where we are in such a go, go, go world that if we don't take the time to actually reset, to reorient, and allow our visual field to expand, it keeps our nervous system on high alert, right? And then high alert left on too long is hypervigilance. And when we're hypervigilant, what happens is that again, we tend to lose the landscape. We tend to lose sight, is what we call it, like both figuratively and literally, of maybe sometimes what's most important.
What just came to my mind there is when I was teaching, you always want the kids like focus on right here,
Yes.
focus, 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 and
Yep.
didn't know that this didn't know this then, but now I know. But when I walked around the room and they looked around and kind of followed me, they
Yeah.
seemed to be more regulated. They understood, they weren't just looking straight at the screen the whole
Yes.
time.
Yep.
They, and now I know why.
Now you know why. So that's
Yeah.
so see, this is going to be so amazing to have you as a resource for our, those of us that are out there still mothering, right?
Mhm.
Or still teaching. Because at the end of the day, whatever field we're in, whatever place we are in life, it's our capacity to be in the state where we're most receptive to learning. That's why these conversations here at Worthy Cowgirl go beyond the world of horses. We're inspired by the horse, don't get me wrong. We that relationship with the horse is so integral to what we do and how we communicate and how we communicate these principles. However, the reason why the horse has really got us into that sense of embodiment, which means we're connected internally and our nervous systems more easily come into this place of receptivity and learning. And those are the tools that we want to equip, especially the parents with at the beginning of the school year, is being able to help your children navigate their nervous system states so that we can help them and foster their capacity to enter into that optimal state of learning. And that's the same for us. We're still learning. You're still learning, Sonny. Things with Dottie
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yes. And that's why and even with my job, with my kids, I want to be in that state of learning that keeps me grounded, open, in that capacity to see possibilities. And that is not, we can't logic our way there. Bottom line, it's a sense of where's our nervous system, where's our nervous system capacity to give energy to the parts of our brain that open and expand for new learning to come in. And then once that new learning comes in, what are the movements? And I'm going to highlight that. What are the movements that help weave that into our inner world, into our sense of embodied knowledge so that we learn to move and walk with it as one, right? That to me is the most inspiring kind of conversations I think we could have. And for the membership, it's $30 a month for now.
Yes. And also, I think we still have some t-shirts to sell?
We still have some t-shirts, and this is ride worthy because we're going to turn your trials into trails. Because when you are in a trial and you feel that you are unaccompanied, alone, that sense of panic comes. But if we know that we can turn that trial into a trail and that we just need to be accompanied, we need a map, we need resources. And when we feel resourced and we have that sense of movement, that trail can become a trailblazer and blazing your way into that new territory that is yours to take, right? But it's again, it's to me, that's what the shirt represents. So, Sunny, the shirts are still available, the journal. And so, what's awesome about that is if they buy the journal or the shirt, what do they get?
So you get a free month with us.
Yep.
So at least a $30 value.
Yeah, it's amazing. And
Yes.
again, it's $30 for now, you guys. It's at some point this price is going to go up. And the reason being is because the handouts that Sunny creates, Sunny has her master's in education. So the quality of handouts that we have, supplemental resources are top notch. I mean, one day we'll go over all the classes I've taken over the last 25 years. I'm going to tell you for $30 a month, I
It's pretty
It
cheap.
is, it's cheap. And the reason, I'm going to tell you the reason why, it's because we believe in the legacy that we want to leave our children and our families, and we wanted to make this work accessible to all. And I'm just going to highlight that accessible to all. But it also really is also going to be community driven and supported, meaning that you as a community spread the word, use your voice, take our words, use your voice, and spread the word. And so we've got this avenue right here is going, and we're already seeing the stories, we're posting the stories of how it's changing people's lives, right? Your knowledge, my knowledge of 25 years in the field of relational neuroscience from the legends that wrote the books, that's who I learned from. And then we have Ashley, who has spent all of her years in rodeoing. She's a pro barrel racer, and so she's got a ton and a wealth of knowledge to share, as do you. And then Lori has been in the music industry, and so creatively, we've all come together to raise this platform for how do you take relational neuroscience with the wisdom of the horse and help it transform our lives. It's not just mindset, it's your nervous system, it's how your inner world is constructed. And we give you practical daily micro experiences to begin to rewire and repattern different ways of being, right? It's one of those things, and it's not something that you can outthink or outlogic. It has to be lived, felt, experienced, and moved with. And those are the conversations we're having here. So I hope you guys, if you haven't gotten the membership, get it tonight so we can see you in class on Tuesday.
Yes. And go like us on Instagram and TikTok
Oh,
and
yeah,
all them other channels.
all the platforms.
Yeah.
It's awesome. All right, guys,
Yes.
you guys have a great Sunday night. We love you. We're so thankful for this community, and we will see you Tuesday.